What they do is they grab wads of shit from the crack of their asshole, and then what they do is throw it at the wall, and they hope that it sticks, but the shit's not sticking. Right? I have shit-proof, like, defenses all around me. So when you throw that wad of shit, it just doesn't impact us. We just keep winning.
Hey everyone, I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Disney Plus MCU TV shows, which were officially announced all the way back in 2019 with the conclusion of the MCU Phase 3 with Spider-Man Far From Home. Actually, it's pretty common for people to think that the MCU Phase 3 concluded with Avengers Endgame, but no, it does not, sadly. And I truly believe that Phase 4 should have started with Spider-Man Far From Home, as, you know, Endgame just seems like the perfect send-off for those three phases, actually. But no, Spider-Man Far From Home actually concludes the MCU Phase 3. And then after the conclusion of the MCU Phase 3, it was announced that with the Disney Plus streaming service coming up, that the MCU would be doing TV shows specifically centered around certain characters. The first characters to have been announced to get Disney Plus MCU TV shows were obviously Wanda and Vision. You have Falcon and Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Loki, and then you would get the inclusion later on of Miss Marvel and What If. Then also during the Disney 2020 Investor Day, as more things were announced about these shows, a lot of trailers came out about these shows, and then later on, it was also announced that Miss Marvel would be actually getting rescheduled to release in 2022. So that November slot that was dedicated to Miss Marvel was something that they had just waited to actually utilize for the release of the MCU Phase 4 release of Eternals, which I think is one of the worst MCU movies of all time. So the MCU Disney Plus TV shows officially started with WandaVision, and then after that, literally a week after that, we had the Falcon and Winter Soldier come out. Then it was about like a 3-week gap there. Then Loki Season 1. Then after that, you had Marvel Studios' What If. And then after that, you had Hawkeye Season 1. And that was the first initial round of shows coming out for the Disney Plus MCU TV shows. Now, I said this obviously back then to a lot of people, and I'm going to say the same thing right now. These shows specifically are something that we could look at and go, I don't know if they really understand what they're doing here as far as making a TV show. Because I grew up watching a lot of TV shows, a lot of, police procedural dramas, sci-fi, all that stuff. And you can clearly tell there is some massive issues here in these shows, specifically when it comes to the storytelling of the shows. Because later on in 2022, we got Moon Knight, we got Miss Marvel, then we got the Hour special with Werewolf by Night, then later on we got She-Hulk, and then now in 2023, we are getting Loki Season 2, currently airing right now. Then after that, there's plans for, obviously, Agatha Harkness. I don't know why that needs to be a spinoff. Like, I don't know who's asking for that. Then you also have the Ironheart spinoff show, which is apparently gonna be rescheduled to 2025, but I'll talk about that in another video, actually. Then you also have Daredevil Born Again. So the only TV show that people were excited about within all of these is just Daredevil Born Again, and that's kind of only just because people remember Daredevil a lot from the Daredevil Netflix show or the Ben Affleck solo movie that came out back in like 2003, 2004, right? But people liked the Netflix adaptation of Daredevil and Punisher, and I know those shows, I think more or less so the MCU tries to like ignore those shows, and that fans really liked the take that Netflix had on a lot of those shows, because there's this huge drama going on between Marvel and the original guys that did the Daredevil Netflix show, which I'll also talk about in another video as well. And looking at a lot of these shows, and given how they're structured, given how their storytelling is also, badly paced in a lot of these shows, it's just really bad. Like, and if you like that stuff, that's fine. But for me personally, I just had to stop really watching them because it just was so bad. The last Disney Plus MCU show I watched was She-Hulk, and I got to like episode 6, and I was like, I'm done. This is just so trash. Because I'm gonna use the Werewolf by Night example, and I think I covered an article on my other channel back a few years ago about this, where why can't they just do some of these shows like an hour special? Because it's always the same thing when it comes to these shows. Literally, there's like 6 episodes, you'll finish them, and you'll give the same response every time. Well, that was just kind of meh. Well, why can't we just do like an hour for these shows then? People liked Werewolf by Night. Why can't they just do the shows in an hour? I hate it, wasting my time every single week watching one of these shows, an episode, just to be like, well, that's just kind of trash. The only show, as people know, that I did like was The Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it was the best paced show they put out, best acted, best action. Obviously, the ending is really cringe, where Sam is telling the senator to like do better, but you take the good with the bad with some of these Disney MCU products, actually, right? So also, as you guys know, haven't had a chance to do a video like this in quite some time, only because I've been so busy just building up my, the Iron Man podcast and live streaming and putting out content on Rumble and making sure I'm building that up as well. I have plenty of other videos dropping beside this one, many other topics I have to cover, so don't worry, there's plenty of content to come, actually, and not a lot of movies are getting filmed right now or TV shows, so we have an abundance of time for me to tell you guys all about the news that I've been hearing about. So I wanted to start with the Marvel one and then go to the DC one. I know there's this big DC expose on like the DCEU, and I mean, I could tell you guys all that stuff from my own personal experience right now, but nevertheless, let's talk about what is going to be happening with these Disney Plus MCU TV shows. So I don't really mean to use Wikipedia, but it's going to be like a good indicator of what I'm going to use to like drive my point across for you guys, okay? So let's do Wikipedia, Disney Plus MCU TV shows. Yeah. So the shows coming up are not even shows that people kind of really even give a shit about. I mean, Loki, despite me not even liking Loki that much, Loki actually, had the highest views for the season 1 of Loki. And I know that there's not been that much chatter about Loki season 2, primarily because I think no one really cared about season 1 as much as they did. It was just an extremely bad show, Like, I genuinely thought it was just really, really bad, actually, So we're going to start here with WandaVision, and we're going to scroll down because I just want to go over the TV series, actually. Okay, so we got there to the TV shows. I seen a list of them right here. So we have the original, the Netflix ones, and we have the MCU ones right here. Okay, so look at all of this getting released in 2021, and I think the release dates are a very important indicator of it as well. So when you have all of this coming out in 2021, along with the movies themselves, so basically you would have a TV show come out, then later on a month later, a movie, TV show, movie, TV show, movie. And that in itself would cause people to get fatigued because that is too much coming out. I thought initially when they announced these shows, it would be spaced out. So like you have a movie and then maybe like 2 months later, you get a show. A movie, 2 months later, you get a show. I didn't realize they were packing and cramming all this stuff together. Now, do keep in mind, very key piece of context here is that this was in the COVID period, so they had to, delay a lot of the stuff until 2021. And even if you had to, like, let's say that really was the case, and it was, you still could have spaced out a lot of this stuff. That is too much, guys. I guess I shit you not, literally, after WandaVision ended, Falcon and Winter Soldier a week later started. Okay, that is just too much. It just is, right? Then you go to the stuff for 2022. Obviously, they cut back in 2022 with just Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and She-Hulk. I think Miss Marvel kind of had a decent little start to itself, but it kind of fell apart. The latter episodes that it got. She-Hulk was just bad all the way around, you know? And then you had Moon Knight, which was terrible to begin with, you know? Like, most of these shows have, like, I mean, outside of the one that I really like, which is The Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision had a couple good episodes, I'd imagine, for a lot of people, but meh, you know? There's, like, one good episode in a lot of these shows, and that's the key problem here, is all these episodes, and you only get one good episode out of them. Now, what people are going to bring up is less episodes could mean you get more done. Yes. So inherently, the reason why they do less episodes is because you can just tell a cohesive, faster paced story in a condensed space in a short amount of time in a small amount of episodes. No need for a 20 episode season, right? Like it was back in the day with what we grew up with. You can just do it short and sweet and to the point, right? But it's not how these shows feel. They don't feel short and sweet to the point. They feel like they're a drag to get through. They truly feel like it's a fucking slog to get through these shows, actually, you know? And then coming up this year, you have Werewolf by Night, and, after that, a lot of people like that. And then you have Secret Invasion, starting off 2023, and then you have Loki season 2, which is currently going on right now. I don't get why Loki got a season 2, but I guess it had the biggest of the ratings of the original bunch to justify a season 2. Also, Falcon and Winter Soldier is getting a movie, right? So Captain America 4. So I guess that's an upgrade in and of itself. And then we are also getting What If, actually. So those are the 3 shows for 2023. Then after that, look at this dog shit you have right here. You know, they apparently are just gonna just drop all of Echo on Disney Plus, right? I'm not sure if they're still gonna do that. Then you also have them pushing it back to 2024. Agatha got delayed to late 2024. Ironheart's been delayed probably to 2025. And Daredevil Born Again is gonna have the most episodes at 18, but it's also doesn't have a release date yet. So their plan with these TV shows has pretty much, I think, just blown up in their face. I don't think they've executed them very well at all. They've actually, besides generate interest, actually made people feel very fatigued of the MCU in and of itself. Because getting bad TV shows as well as the bad movies from Phase 4 was just like, oh my god, what are they doing? You know, they lost their way after Endgame when they lost Captain America and Iron Man. So yeah, I really do hope they overhaul what they're gonna do regarding TV, because their TV ideas are just really terrible. Their writing is absolutely atrocious. The pacing is absolutely terrible. You know, let's not even go over the CGI. The absolute writing and pacing is some of the most dull, boring shit ever. I watched Loki season 1 and I straight up wanted to just fucking get a rope and end it. Oh, that shit was boring as fuck, dude. So, we have an article here from the Hollywood Reporter that says, Daredevil hits reset button as Marvel overhauls its TV business. Launched during the pandemic with a playbook to shoot $150 million plus seasons with no pilots, the Disney unit is undergoing growing pains and seeing the logic of traditional TV culture. And I get it, traditional TV culture has its fair share of issues, but let's kind of put respect on that. Some of that traditional TV culture produced some of the best TV shows ever made, and even the middling ones are like good to average at best, right? I think they should take a look at that and actually take a page out of their book and utilize it. It didn't take long to see the problem after Marvel Studios' Daredevil Born Again paused production in mid-June during the writer's strike. Fewer than half of the series' 18 episodes have been shot, but it was enough for Marvel executives, including Chief Kevin Feige, to review the footage and come away with the clear-eyed assessment: the show wasn't working. So that means that show ain't shit. The one show that people were looking forward to, which was Daredevil Born Again, already early on, people had some hopes for this, even though they kind of knew Disney would fuck it up in their own way. He was like, it ain't working. So in late September, Marvel quietly let go of head writers Chris Ord and Matt Corman, and also released the directors of the remainder of the season as part of a significant creative reboot of the series. The Hollywood Reporter has learned the studio is now on hunt for new writers and directors for the project, which stars Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer turned superhero. So, like I mentioned before to people, this was never gonna be like your Netflix Daredevil. Hopefully Kevin Feige realized that, and that's the reason why he got rid of those people, actually. So then we have more here. The Daredevil revamp is the latest in a series of growing pains for Marvel Television. Since debuting the Emmy-winning WandaVision in January 2021, the studio, which dominated the film industry in the 2010s, has released more than 50 hours of TV programming after creating a small-screen division from the ground up during the pandemic. Through it all, the company eschewed the traditional TV making model. It didn't commission pilots, but instead shot entire 150 million plus seasons of TV on the fly. It didn't hire showrunners, but instead depended on film executives to run its series. Yeah, that's kind of the reason why this stuff sucks. Like, you're starting to peel back the layers on like a lot of this Hollywood stuff, and you can kind of see why it's not good. Why would you not hire a showrunner? I'd imagine it's because their egos were so huge after how much money they were making. They're sitting there going like, who needs traditional TV? We just do it ourselves the way we want to. Yeah, it's not how that works, typically. And as Marvel does for its movies, it relied on post-production and reshoots to fix what wasn't working. Even though they remain, along with Star Wars titles, the most watched shows on Disney Plus Marvel series have recently faced a number of creative challenges and cries of diminishing returns from critics and audience metrics, causing a major shift at the studios to make TV shows the more traditional way. Yes, please. Literally, instead of doing like 3 shows for some of these characters, you could just do it the Daredevil Born Again way. The initial idea is 18 episodes, longer form storytelling, you get more bang for your buck, and you're only doing 1 show, 1 at a time, okay? Literally, 1. That's it. You don't need to do like 5 in a year. That's crazy. We're trying to marry the Marvel culture with the traditional television culture, says Brad Winderbaum, Marvel's head of streaming television and animation. It comes down to how can we tell stories in television that honor what's so great about the source material. With Daredevil's new direction, Marvel hopes to right the ship on a project with sky-high expectations. The show is Marvel's first to feature a hero who already had a successful series on Netflix running 3 seasons. But sources say that Corman and Ord crafted a legal procedural that did not resemble the Netflix version, known for its action and violence. Cox didn't even show up in costume until the 4th episode. Marvel, after greenlighting the concept, found itself needing to rethink the original intention of the show. And we know from how procedurals work with She-Hulk, these writers don't know what the hell they're writing, actually. I'd rather you take cues from Law & Order SVU if you're going to write police procedurals, but we know these guys are doing that. So here's a chart they had right here. Is the TV Marvel machine slowing down? After starting strong with its first 3 series on Disney Plus, the superhero studio's most recent series offerings haven't reached the same heights. Yeah, because not only have the shows not been good, you can clearly tell, and I always make sure I stress this, people will literally just vote, not even with saying it how they feel, because what they say sometimes is just full of shit. What people are going to do is they'll actually just not watch it all, So they don't have to tell you, I don't like this stuff, actually, right? They just won't watch overall, right? And some of these numbers are really skewed because, okay, so not going to go off on a huge long discussion on that, but okay, so for traditional TV, they have to report their ratings to certain companies so that way they can get paid, right? Advertisers and all that stuff, right? There's a reason why the ratings are public. That way, the studio can know what to also invest their budgets into, is basically what's getting the most ratings, because getting higher ratings equals higher money they get paid. It's kind of just an easy way to learn it like that, okay? Now, with streaming, that's not the case. Streaming is inbuilt into the companies that own the streaming service itself, okay? So whatever numbers they report doesn't really have to be kind of legalized. They can just kind of tell you what numbers these shows get. This isn't officially checked by anybody. This is just their own stuff, right? With the traditional TV model, it has to be checked. It has to be verified. This is how much people actually watch these shows week to week. And you can see all the numbers here. Now, this is in like the billions, which, for the first 3, I could probably believe that. But did 4 billion people watch She-Hulk? I mean, Moon Knight, Hawkeye. I mean, like, if you look at it right here, the numbers on these are having vastly diminishing returns, right? Now, I don't believe these shows had 1 billion people watching. I truly don't, honestly. But let's just say what they're reporting is true. This is massively declining on a very rapid level. Because, first of all, they're dropping shows, and people are watching these and going like, I'm not getting anything out of this. You know? And by getting anything out of it, you're like, enjoyment factor, quality of TV storytelling. Not it, honestly. You know? Marvel plans to keep some scenes and episodes, though other serialized elements will be injected, with Corman and Ord becoming executive producers on the 2-season series. Daredevil is far from the first Marvel series to undergo drastic behind-the-scenes changes. Those who work with Marvel on the TV side have complained of a lack of a central vision that has, according to sources, begun to affect the studio's shows with creative differences and tension. TV is a writer-driven medium, says one inside familiar with the Marvel process. Marvel is a Marvel-driven medium. On the Oscar Isaac star Moon Knight, show creator and writer Jeremy Slater quit and director Mohamed Diab took the reins. Jessica Gao developed and wrote She-Hulk Attorney at Law, but was sidelined once director Kat Corio came on board. Production was challenging with COVID hitting cast and crew, and Gao was brought back to oversee post-production. A typical showrunner duty, but it's the rare Marvel head writer who has such oversight. Even though the company does not have a writer's first approach to TV, directors could feel shortchanged as well. The whole fix it in post attitude makes it feel like a director doesn't matter sometimes, says one person familiar with the process. As it shows, ramped up during the pandemic, Marvel stepped outside its usual staffing approach and brought in outside execs after years of internally promoting creatives who had been sufficiently trained in the Marvel method. This change was felt most severely on Secret Invasion, the Samuel L. Jackson-led thriller that stands as Marvel's worst reviewed series. And not even worst reviewed. If you go by their numbers, this is like one of their lowest viewed shows, period. Because not only did they not do what the comic books were like, they literally just basically took Secret Invasion as a name and just used it as a name alone with the Skrulls as villains. And if you guys know anything about that story, that's not how that works, actually. That's actually so fucking stupid. And if you have tried to justify that in your brain, I don't know, honestly. It's terrible. Like, they literally, I'm not saying it's going to be always a one-to-one adaptation. I know that can't be possible for a lot of projects, but the fact that they took the name of Secret Invasion and the show resembles almost nothing like it is ridiculous, actually. Kyle Bradstreet, a writer and executive producer on USA Network Emmy winner Mr. Robot, had been working on the scripts for Secret Invasion for about a year when he was fired after Marvel decided on a different direction. Enter new writer Brian Tucker, who penned the crime thriller Broken City. Thomas Bes-Chua, who helmed the thriller Let Him Go, and Ali Selim, who wrote on Hulu's 9/11 drama The Looming Tower, were on board as directors and to help crack the story. So far, so normal, at least by Marvel's creative development standards. Details are murky, but what happened next in the summer of 2022 debilitated the production as factions became entrenched and leaders vied for supremacy during Secret Invasion's pre-production in London. It was weeks of people not getting along, and it erupted, says an insider. Marvel declined to directly comment on the matter. The company dispatched Jonathan Schwartz, a senior executive and member of Marvel's creative steering committee known as the Parliament, to get Secret Invasion back on track when it was falling behind schedule and on the verge of losing some actors because of other commitments. By early September, a good proportion of the Invasion team had been replaced with new line producers, unit production managers, and assistant directors, and Bez Ucha, who was supposed to direct 3 episodes, left the show because of new scheduling conflicts. The Marvel executive overseeing the show, Chris Gary, was reassigned and, according to sources, is expected to depart Marvel when his contract is up at the end of the year. As it moves forward, Marvel is making concrete changes in how it makes TV. It now has plans to hire showrunners. Gal's post-production work on She-Hulk helped Marvel see it would be helpful for its shows to have a creative through line from start to finish. Yes, the person you hire at the beginning should be the person you probably want to keep to the very end of it. That's kind of the idea, unless you really, really don't like that person's vision. It's a term we're not only grown comfortable with, but also learned to embrace, says Winderbaum of showrunners and Marvel TV's intention to hire them. The studio also plans on having full-time TV execs rather than having executives straddle both television and film. Yeah. This should be no-brainer stuff. I promise you guys, it was literally their egos got so big, they actually thought they could just do everything and not do things, not in more of a traditional stance, but they thought they could just like take, shortcuts, post-production stuff would kind of fix it all. No, not how TV works, especially in long-form storytelling like that. We need executives that are dedicated to this medium, that are going to focus on streaming, focus on television, says Winterbaum, because they are two different forms. It also is revamping its development process. Showrunners will write pilots and show Bibles. The days of Marvel shooting an entire series from She-Hulk to Secret Invasion, then looking at what's working and what's not are done. God, man, they're actually going to make a change because they realize people are starting to tune out of a lot of what the MCU is putting out. Just from the TV angle of it. The movies themselves are still making money. I wouldn't say they're making profit per se, but maybe, that might change too. This sounds all good and nice here, but I gotta see action too. But I guess they're making a change, And just as Loki, which returned October 5th, marked Marvel's first season 2 of a series out of 9 TV shows to date. The studio plans on leaning into the idea of multi-season serialized TV, stepping away from the limited series format that has defined it. Marvel wants to create shows that run several seasons, where characters can take time to develop relationships with the audience rather than feeling as if they are there as a step for a big crossover event. Oh my god, no way. That should have always been the thing, right? Because, some of these shows don't even really deserve a season 2, if I'm being honest. They're pretty bad for the most part, but at least maybe things could get further developed in a season 2 where the season 1 doesn't feel as such a slog to get through. Some of its next shows, in fact, promise to be more personal stories. Echo, which premieres in January, is a more grounded crime story with few visual effects, revolving around deaf Native American anti-hero Maya Lopez. Wonder Man, a show that was paused because of the writers and actors strikes, is meant to be a behind-the-scenes look at Hollywood and a character study of Simon Williams. That's a race-swapped character right there. For Wonder Man, race swaps are stupid and they're dumb and you shouldn't be doing them. But whatever, right? A superhero who has a side gig as an actor and stunt person. Winterbaum says he wants people to watch the shows because they love the characters. It should work, he says, beyond the fact that it ties into other projects, or if they are going to be in a movie, or if it is setting up an Avengers film. Yeah, you should also watch these shows because you genuinely like what Marvel is doing, or you like that character. But what the problem here is, what he didn't mention there is, why are they announcing shows for characters people don't care for? Nobody really cares for Ironheart. People don't really know who Echo is. People don't really know who Agatha is. People know who Daredevil is. Very popular character. I'd argue in the first slate of shows that they put up, people knew these characters way more, And some of them still more kind of obscure, but you guys get my point, right? They keep announcing shows for characters nobody cares for. That's why some of these shows don't do well. These are characters nobody knows outside of maybe if you just watch the MCU, Disney Plus TV shows or the movies actually, And that's kind of just why a lot of the ratings have been such hugely diminishing for a lot of these shows. And these were some of the future series they have planned right here. Vision Quest, the Vision Solo, the Wakanda series, the animated Spider-Man stuff. And I mean, this stuff will probably happen at some point, but they need to really change their approach on how they navigate TV shows. I've been saying this all the way back in 2021. They are not, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, he just admitted it right here. They were literally out of their element when regarding like how they wanted to handle and structure TV shows, actually. And that's the big issue right there, which is they got their egos so big, they are like, we'll just do it this way, and we'll just do it this way, and fans will just eat it up. Nope. Turns out when you enter a different medium, fans have a different standard for what they consider good, and what the Disney Plus MCU TV shows was not considered good, and their ratings were diminishing, and people only really checked out series based on really popular characters from the MCU within and of itself, or just off the name value alone that the casual audience would have. So, yeah, going forward now, they're going to have showrunners, they're going to write pilots, which has always been a thing. Every TV show on a man has a pilot episode, which is basically episode 1 to kind of see if the studio would further order more episodes based around those shows, right? And yeah, I mean, I know a lot of you guys didn't like the Disney Plus MCU TV shows, neither did I, and I'm glad, at least they finally recognized that, and I think also moving forward, like I mentioned earlier in the video, fewer shows. You only need like 2 shows, and just if the show hit that you put out that was really good, make a season 2. That way you're not giving another character randomly that no one knows or cares about and trying to, drum up some excitement there. If Daredevil Born Again really hits when it's finally released, give it a season 2. Or maybe for some of these other shows that were largely pretty popular from their own ratings, why not give them a season 2? I wouldn't give She-Hulk a season 2 because I think it's trash, but, maybe kind of echo that sentiment, there too. But thank you guys for watching this video. Like I mentioned before, I do have other videos coming out and that are planned. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. So yeah, just make sure you hit the notification button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'm MSK, and this is Online Cinema Entertainment, your one place for online cinema. All right, see you guys later. Deuces. Peace.